Possibility that a sample contains no more than one unmarketable tomato. No more than one unmarketable tomato. Possibility.
And once it get here, it's the best part of my day because I love to eat. And I'm ready to go, you know? I'm always ready to eat. I feel like the food has to be eaten. Food could be here, and I tell myself, stop, just put it down.
Why they do it at that angle?
I'm back at it again. Something in my head is telling me I have to eat the food.
Let me see.
That's the best part of my day because I love to eat. But there's nothing worse
Damn,
than
big
coming
fella.
to a meal, you know? So I'm always ready. I just feel like the food has to be eaten. Food could be here, and I tell myself,
Damn,
stop.
that's a
put it
crazy
down.
ass angle. This nigga like he look like a mountain pasture.
Something in my head is telling me I have to eat the food.
I don't like the angle that got me in either. Fucking retarded.
Have you tried this?
But there's nothing worse than coming to an end of a meal. So when breakfast is over,
That tub is deep as
I'm
hell.
already thinking about lunch.
What the fudge? Oh, this is a cool Bobby.
Just finished your breakfast.
You put that down. You just playing with water. What's your mom?
We ain't talking about the mix they make, though. We talking about how they
Who
think.
the fuck are you to touch the fucking kid?
You need
Let's get it.
Who the fuck is out here fucking waste? Damn! Who's here fucking doing that?
Well, we got Enzo giving us a buff to our weapons. We got a Haley in here, and he can give a buff to her main weapon, and all she does is shoot snipers, so. This is impressive. I've never beat it like this.
Crazy, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Please. Appreciate it if we all ran this like 8 more times. Alright, fuck you, Enzo.
Let's see how much damage I did. Nope, I need an 8 mil. Yeah, I want to work with him. Well, I don't want to get too carried away, man, but I will increase his transcendent might at least.
Dude, even Africa has Starbucks? That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's always like variations to whatever their culture is. So it'll be their culture food with a fast food spin on it.
That's cool. I wonder what Indian food is. Chick covered fries.
Freaking my curry. You eat curry? You eat curry rice?
I would love to try authentic curry.
But yes.
Yeah, over here is a bunch of spots. My coworker always be telling me about it because he be eating that shit. And he say, "You never had duck soup?" What's what the hell? Fuck is that?
Duck soup?
Hmm. He's
I would
also
love to
Cambodian.
try duck soup. Were you the one that sent me that tall ass bitch, or did I just see that on my own?
I don't know. Don't you follow the tall woman page?
The one with the big titties and the purple hair?
Oh, you're talking about Raven, huh?
No, I'm not. Hmm?
Isn't her name Raven? Is she Latin or what is she?
I don't fucking know. I stopped following that.
Hmm?
Ain't that about a bitch? That's so cool.
Even without him now, it's still doing 80.
Relax, Bessie, relax.
I got it. Oh, wow. Hell yeah.
That's off a really right there.
So you said if I hold R2, it won't break?
Yeah, if you just, instead of pressing R2 to do damage, you just hold on to L2 and you just stay there.
Oh, L2. Okay.
Were you holding on to R2?
Yes.
Were you hitting?
Yes.
Let me shoot the arm off. Hey, do women have to do the military thing if, like, they get out of high school?
That's a good question. I would hope so, but probably not.
What do you mean you would hope so?
Equality.
I knew you were gonna say some shit like that, dude.
Civilizations were built of men and women's back. Why not bear the
That's
burden?
crazy.
Why not bear the burden? What the?
Carry the burden. That is the chingada madre.
I hate to be cynical, but they're trying to kill us. Arby's. They have
We
the
have
meat.
the meats.
Mm. 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 Okay. There you go. I get the same satisfactory from you guys when you do a lot of damage as me seeing your lives go up and shit fast as fuck. Oh, with the Ajax bubble. Well, you don't
Yeah.
count.
Ya llegó. Sí, ya está aquí. Ya está. Hey, you're gonna have to cover me, dog. Good luck.
You're good. Thank you for that tip. That's crazy. Why is she attacking him? He's right here. This bitch got 3 other people to target. Ah, that's crazy. I kept it alive too. If I had been one of my offensive characters, we could have beat her. That just shows me right there, though, that he just doesn't have enough firepower. He's good. Now I need my weapons to be good. I'm gonna clip like the last 15 minutes though, cause that was still pretty impressive to be able to keep the homie alive while in the ice shit. Yeah, that was quite impressive. I can't even lie. He was also able to tank some stuff too, so that's good. I thought I had broken down 100. Nice. Delicious. I finished up my food in there too from Tom's. I finished my chili fries too from Tom's, so it was good. I was trying to listen to it. It wouldn't let me listen to it.
When the Jewish farmers used to observe the mitzvah of Bikurim, bringing their first fruit to the temple, before they'd hand them to the Kohen, they would stick
Level 8 poison user. Striking the weaker vampires would nearly take them out instantly, and with the fairy blood on top of that, it would only take one scratch. For the noble vampires or stronger ones, it would take more, but Paul was aiming to reduce the numbers on the other side first, getting rid of all the weak ones. He continued going through the battlefield, attacking them, and their numbers started to fall extremely quickly. That blasted king, he's taking his sweet time on purpose, isn't he? Jill thought. Where is my backup meant to be? I can't let this continue. If I don't do something, then the only other option is to retreat. Gritting her teeth, she thought it was an embarrassment. She couldn't retreat. They had the larger forces, and going up against a bunch of ex-humans would be too embarrassing, and her family would be humiliated for years to come. Having enough, she decided to confront Paul. She kicked one of his clawed gloves away before he could hit another. The hit was strong, and Paul had stumbled back a few steps. It reminded him that maybe she wasn't the best mentally, but she was still a leader at the end of the day who had strength that surpassed his own. She surrounded her leg in the blood so she wouldn't be affected by the poison, Paul noticed. However, he was ready. As soon as he saw Jill, he made sure to keep his soul weapon active so he could use it at any point and time, and now was the time. From the pores of his skin and through his clothing, a dark green liquid could be seen seeping out of him. Soon they started to form into dark green balls, the same size as a billiard ball. I'm happy my soul ability is similar to what I had in the past, Paul said, as he was surrounded by 8 dark green balls floating in a circle behind him. Seeing this, Jill moved forward again, and Paul controlled the balls to go after her. The balls could move faster than he could and kept up with Jill's speed. The first one had hit her on her thigh. Not nearly a few seconds later, her eyesight started to blur, and she could feel herself feeling weak. Luckily, she was able to use her blood hardening to get under where the poison was and chuck it on the floor. Not touching it directly was similar to scraping it off her body, but soon there were more balls of poison upon her. She used blood hardening to block off some of them and dogged the third, but what she didn't expect was that the one that had just missed hadn't gone past her, was stopped midair and moved back, hitting her from behind. Again, the same effects were happening as before, and she had no choice but to use the blood hardening to scrape the poison off again. Now that she was more aware of her situation, she could see that all the balls of poison had surrounded her, ready to hit at all sorts of angles. These people, they aren't just ordinary humans who have been turned into vampires. How can they be so strong? Jill thought. Dodging the balls and using her blood hardening skills was taking everything out of her, and each time she would be hit by a ball of poison, it would weaken her further. She was at a standstill, not being able to do anything. Or at least, that's what Paul thought. At that moment,
the weapon
Paul
changes
could hear
speed is what's
something.
hurting it.
Not just one or two voices, but multiple loud voices rang through his head. My arm hurts. It's too much. These vampires are so strong. I don't know how much longer I can go on. I don't want to die. I want to see my children again. I know I agreed to follow Paul, but I didn't think it would be the death of me.
Please be something
Right
good.
now, Paul could hear the thoughts and cries of everyone on the battlefield as they were being sent to his head. He tried to concentrate and ignore them, but it was hard as some of the words were making him lose focus and the balls were slowing down. How does it feel? How does it feel to know you're the one that caused all of this? Jill said. Because of you, all these people have been forced to fight. She started to laugh hysterically. Paul was so affected by the words that he fell to one knee. Cries were getting louder, and it was as if he could really feel their pain. Jill stood there, laughing in place, as the poison balls finally dropped down and fell to the ground. She could finally move once again. Until, in the middle of her laughter, she felt something smashing into the side of her face so hard she could feel her cheek and teeth falling apart. The punch was strong. It was just as strong as one of the leaders, and before she knew it, she was flying through the air. I told you I would come back for you, Peter said. At the back of the tent's people, Layla and Sia were in the middle of the battle. Since Layla was a supportive type, she continued to fire arrows. There was also plenty of negative feelings for her to feed off in the middle of the battle, so at any point in time, she was able to transform into one of her 3 forms, but she held off for now until it was needed. However, what shocked her was that suddenly, Sia had grabbed onto her hand and had the look of death on her face. She was sweating greatly, and her breathing was quick and sharp, like something had happened. "We have to go to one of the other gates now," Sia said. "It's Erin. She's going to need our help." At the other gate, it looked like Sia had seen something that was true because marching forward was another army of around 100, while Erin only had herself and the 10 students that Leo had been teaching. "Don't be scared, guys. We knew that this was a possibility, but that's why we trained, right?" Erin said, trying to encourage them. "The others have already been fighting a hard battle, so it's possible that they won't be able to give us backup. But remember what happened last time. Remember what happened to your family members. It's these same people that took your family away last time, and it's these people that want to do the same again," she shouted. Those words were enough to give the students resolve, as they remembered saying goodbye to their loved ones after the last attack, and the brave ones from the 10th family before that had risked their lives to save them. Walking in front of them, all was a hooded man with 2 small, strange-looking daggers. One had 3 prongs on it, and was known as a sai. The other name given to it was the hairpin. Using her key, she could sense the strength of the one in front, and it was definitely that of another vampire knight. "No one engages with him. This one's mine," she said. The hooded man with the hairpin ran forward, and could see the shots from the tower coming out towards him. He had dodged the first one, but the second one managed to successfully hit him. The students cheered as they saw the power of the towers, and when the hooded man came out, his clothes were destroyed, and part of his flesh had fallen to the ground. However, he continued running forward, and it looked like he was healing on the go. "It's the ability of the second family. He can reverse the damage. Be careful," a student shouted, as he went past the towers, and was now directly in front of Erin. Pulling out her large blade, she blocked one of the hairpins with her large sword, but the other one directly hit her in the stomach. She was bleeding, but she didn't feel the pain because instead, new energy was rising in her as her eyes started to turn yellow. "You're a Dampier," the hooded man said. But at the same time, the sight of wounded vampires, their own and that of the enemy, as well as the cries of pain were distracting her, but not for the better. Sia gripped the whip in her hand a little harder and swung it towards one of the vampires, who came to stop them. The man had tried to block it with his left arm, but it got cut off, and he immediately dropped the weapon in his right hand due to the sheer pain the loss of a limb and the still burning fairy blood caused him. During this attempted attack, Sia had learned a bit more about her weapons and why they were going to Alex, and now she was feeling even more terrible. "All of this is my fault. This whole nonsensical war started because they found out about Alex. If I had stayed on to visit..." "You don't want to hurt them, but if you hadn't stopped him, he would have hurt us. We are just defending ourselves," Layla reassured her, "so thank you for protecting me." Alas, this all made it worse for Sia. She knew that Layla only meant well, but would she still think that way if she knew what Sia had done? Sia's dislike of fighting had never been much of a secret, and it was also why Pure had made her an agent instead. When she was assigned the task of keeping an eye on Layla, she wanted to get to know her better. For once, she was going to be with another agent who would understand what they were going through, since they were experiencing the same things together. Through watching Layla and pretending to be friends with her, she had actually felt like the two were starting to get on. Perhaps because Layla was the first friend she had made, Sia had regarded Quinn as someone who would get in the way of that. However, now she truly realized how foolish she had behaved. Simply put, she had been jealous. She was jealous that her only friend would pick Quinn over her, and it was quite clear. because she couldn't swallow her pride, she had caused all of this. There were the thoughts that were going through her head. Layla, whatever happens, I promise that I will make sure you survive all of this, no matter the cost. Erin had been pierced in the stomach, and although most would have felt pain at this point, she was feeling a new energy rise in her. She knew that against a vampire knight, she couldn't afford to hold back, so she let the energy take over her body. Her eyes took on a yellow sheen, and power was being sent to her blade. She swung it, and with it activated the blood swipe, the usual red color also changing to yellow. The knight stepped back a few steps and raised a blood wall, but it got smashed through easily. With no other choice, he had to use the blood hardening on his forearm to block the attack. But when Erin's attack touched him, it cracked through that as well. It was too late to stop it, so he did the only thing he could by falling to the side and sacrificing his left arm over his body. A Dampier in a place like this. Increased their defense, so the injuries they sustained weren't too great, yet they would lose if things continue this way. Eventually, one of them suffered from a deep cut to the stomach. Not knowing what to do, they were wondering if they should fall back, but at that moment, 3 green flames came out, shooting towards them. When it landed on the soldiers, their bodies started to feel better and the wounds started to heal. "We'll try our best to support you," Layla shouted a short distance away, but she didn't look like her usual self. The bottom half of her body now looked like that of a serpent. Feeding on the negative emotions, she had succeeded in evolving into her third form. With this, her arrows could give out buffs, heal her allies, and she could cause damage at the same time as well. Usually, seeing such a thing would scare the soldiers that were originally human, but it wasn't the case for these. That was because they had seen scarier things when they were locked up. In her snake form, Layla had grown to a height of 2 meters, and Sia was riding on her back. She did her best to protect her friend with the whip, blocking incoming attacks and punishing anyone that got too close to her, because now the soldiers eventually no longer cared about the tower and were charging forward. Aiming 3 arrows with red flames, the group was getting ready for another battle. Once Erin saw that Layla had joined the battle, she stopped wasting any more time and let loose. So far, the knight had been blocking many of her attacks, but now as she had gotten used to her newfound speed, her superior swordsmanship was showing. The wounds on him were piling up faster than he could heal himself, not to mention that he would run out of MC cells eventually. and that time had come sooner than he had wanted it to. Feeling and knowing his time was coming to an end, he used his last chance to warn his family members. "This dampier will be the death of all of the vampires," he shouted, letting his hands go, giving up. Erin had already vertically swung her blade and couldn't stop the momentum before slicing off the vampire knight's head, clean off. The strange thing was that, despite having fought a vampire knight, Erin didn't feel tired the least bit. On the contrary, after killing the knight, the energy inside her only grew, and she needed some way to expend it. "Regretfully, it looks like I was a little bit late," a female voice said in a neutral voice. At that moment, the vampires that had all been charging forward and attacking fell back to where the voice had come from, outside the tower's range. For a brief moment, the fighting by the
Fuck
gate
that!
stopped.
Go skip to where you're at!
Doing
Don't
here
go
is
continuing where
dangerous.
Retsuma's at!
The vampires next to her
I'm not listening because of him. I'm listening to it because I like this part. This guy.
Dressed in her large black gothic dress was none other than Cindy Chaw. "You already defeated one of my knights, so how about we end this fight here? After all, it would pain my heart to ruin your pretty faces, girls," Cindy suggested, and at that moment, her eyes fell on Sia, who had climbed down due to Layla's canceling out her transformation. Something she had learned to do now. "Oh, Sia, I'm surprised to see you here. How about you tell them that there's no need to fight? We can even pretend not to know about the dampier, cutie. All we want is the blood fairy, and you should know who it is. After all, you were the one who told us about its existence."
Fucking Sia,
A
bro.
brief break from the fighting was just what
Yeah, she's
everyone
a
in
knight.
the 10th family needed, especially since they were outnumbered. Although Layla and Sia came at the perfect time to reinforce them, it wouldn't be enough. The sheer number of enemies was too great, even if they all seemed to be mostly regular vampires. As soon as their line collapsed or retreated, the towers would fall, allowing the 2nd family's army to join the 8th family. That could very well turn the tide of the battle that they were winning at the moment. However, their camaraderie was already being challenged by what Cindy had just revealed. "Sia, what does she mean by that?" Erin demanded to get an answer. She had a deep hatred for those that had attacked the castle the last time, a will stronger than any other on this battlefield to protect the castle this time, and here it might be Sia's fault. A mixed set of emotions was rising in Erin as she started to think about what Sia had possibly done. "Calm down, Erin. Clearly this is just her attempt to make us fight each other. We can't just trust whatever she says. I'm sure she's lying. Isn't that right, Sia?" Layla defended her friend. Alas, Sia's silence wasn't exactly helping her case. Her head held down, not even looking at the others, made it appear like an admission of guilt.
She getting fucked up. She must be doing the most damage. I gotta protect you at all costs.
Erin's too emotional,
Here, take this.
Layla thought, as she could see the smog above her head.
I'll be out of this thing in like 5 more minutes.
Layla had noticed that
Take your
Erin's
time.
emotions were getting the better of her.
I kept you alive, but the other guys, they couldn't do enough damage to defeat it.
I'm only telling the truth.
I'm more on a... I need to make my weapon stronger.
To be a high-level threat. It was because
Are you
I found out
serious?
that information
Yeah, I kept you alive though. When she kept trying to free you and shit, I kept you alive.
now for her family, the vampires that are. Cindy spoke before they could clear up any possible
So,
misunderstandings.
I might be carrying?
Mad at her, but praise her loyalty to the vampire cause.
I'm not
That's why
carrying,
she
right?
told me what you and Peter were talking
Carrying what?
about, how you saw me have me
Peoples?
killed. Saying
In that situation, yeah, they were very weak.
Had to be at least a bit of truth to Cindy's claims. She and Peter had made sure to talk about it privately, and the only one she confided in had been Sia. Sia, did you really tell her? Is that why they tried framing Quinn? Was Peter actually right about Cindy? So many questions were spiraling through Layla's mind right now, but the biggest question was, why? Why had Sia decided to tell Cindy about everything? What did she offer her in return? Could it be a deal to bring her memories back? Don't worry, I know much more about you girls than you originally thought. Cindy started to speak in a soft, gentle tone. You 3 girls don't deserve to get hurt. Each one of you is more special than you think. A rare Hanya, a Banshee, and finally a Dampier. Although the others aren't much of a problem, you will bring danger to the 10th family if you remain, she said, looking towards Erin. Don't you see that the boy can protect you 3 girls? Because of what you are, you will always be sought after, and the vampires will find a way to get to you. Just like with the Blood Fairy, if you stay with them, they will come and attack the tent over and over again. Or if you truly value your family members, come and join the second family. With me and my faction vouching for you, I can promise you that not a soul will be able to hurt you. Layla went over to Sia and knelt by her side. She could see her hands were shaking, and when she peeked at her face, tears were dropping to the floor. She already knew that Sia really had done those things before coming over. Sia, I don't know why you did those things, but I can tell that you regret them now. Just tell me, do you think because of what you told her, she's the one that set up Quinn? Layla asked in a quiet tone. Thinking about it, what probably started this was when Sia blurted out that Cindy had been killed by none other than Quinn. After she treated me, I had a vision of her being killed by Quinn, Sia managed to say amidst the sobs. Now to Layla, it seemed like there was a major suspect, someone who knew about the Blood Fairy beforehand, and if Quinn killed her in her vision, it would have been for a good reason. I guess Peter was right about you, Layla said, standing up. You are one crazy person, setting all this up. You're willing to take in Erin, who you know is Dampier, admitting you would hide her. I wouldn't be surprised if you had been hiding your own Blood Fairy from the others, and that's how you set up Quinn in the first place. It should be you rotting down.
So true, so true. Yeah.
Underground. Not him, she shouted.
Okay, you can invite me.
Quinn, I guess it's true what Sia told me. You are head over heels for him, Cindy sighed, almost looking depressed by the words Layla said.
Man,
Oh well,
I really
a
hope
shame,
some
but
shit
I don't need a
happens,
girl that relies on a man.
dude.
In an instant, Cindy moved forward as fast as she could and swung out her arm, performing a single-line blood swipe. It was focused on speed, so it came out across the ground faster than Layla could react. She also wasn't a vampire, so her physical traits weren't as strong as others.
Okay,
However,
let's go
there
kick her
was
ass.
one person who was not injured and felt faster and stronger than ever, and that was Erin. Using the energy in her body, Erin also dashed in front of the attack and held out her large sword in front of her, infusing it with ki, hoping to either deflect the attack or take most of its energy. Seeing this, a smile appeared on Cindy's face as she reached out her hand and activated her blood control skill. I won't kill you. You are too special, Cindy said as she controlled the blood swipe to move around Erin, heading straight for Layla. The attack connected, and blood was seen, flying in the air. Liquid was felt on Erin's back as it went across her clothes. When turning around, though, rather than seeing a sad face, Erin only saw one of the smiles falling to the floor. At this moment, underground, Quinn could feel a loss of connection to one of his family members. A cursed family member has died. 33 of 50 slots remaining. The slots for being able to use the blood ritual had also gone down by 1, and the messages had just confirmed what he feared. A wave of anger rose in him as he was filled with regret. No, how could this happen? Quinn thought, as he tried with all his will to break free from the wall, but it was useless. The blood swipe had hit, and her body had been cut in half by the blood swipe, and for some reason, Erin could see that she was smiling with her face full of tears, but it wasn't Layla who had fallen, it was Sia. I knew this would happen, Sia thought. Back at the main gate, the sudden vision Sia had received was not one of Erin's death or anyone else's, but her own. She had seen herself saving Layla's life. She had accepted it, knowing that this was the fated outcome, as it would save the one person she truly cared about. Please, continue to live on, Layla. Thank you for having been my best friend.
What the fuck? This bitch dies too. Well, I missed most of my shots.
Pacing up and down in the room at a quick pace, biting the tip of his nail, was none other than Alex. His back was starting to ache as it kept his wings tucked in tight underneath his clothing, more so than ever before. They were twitching, begging to be set free. Calling him a nervous wreck was still putting it mildly. The Blood Fairy was inside the castle, hidden from the two families who had come to drag him back. Paul had told him to go to the top floor, to wait in the throne room until everything was sorted. Still, Alex wasn't alone. Logan and Syl were there as well to keep an eye on him. Logan was looking out of the large glass panel window, watching the battle unfold. As for Syl, he took the chance to sit on the throne. The seat is really nice, Syl mentioned with a satisfied smile. As if I was Quinn, I would never leave a seat as comfy as this. All you have to do is become a leader of one of the families, or you could just get someone to make you a chair, Logan commented, not even looking up from the window. The view from above allowed him to grasp their current situation, and to his surprise, their family was doing extremely well defending their position. The defenses weren't great, and they would have been overpowered, but defending a castle was always easier than besieging one. And that was especially true thanks to Quinn's towers and gargoyles.
Oh shit.
However, if it had been up to him, he would have placed them in slightly different places to maximize their efficiency. Logan had seen some of the towers start to rise on their own, unsure if Quinn was somehow doing this from wherever they held him prisoner, or whether he had planted them there for the future with the power of his system. If he could raise them on the go, then they should be able to turn the tides. If the battle was to continue this way, the 8th family was likely to flee. But if they could raise some towers behind them, it would be possible to trap them all inside. At least, that was what Logan did. He knew Quinn wasn't vindictive enough to want to eradicate the whole family. Most likely, their leader just wanted the fighting to stop, rather than teach them a good lesson. In the long term, it would probably be the better decision. "How can you two be so calm?" Alex shouted. "There's a whole army out there trying to break into this castle and get us." "You're wrong," Logan corrected him. "They are here to get you, and it doesn't look like they will be able to make their way here anytime soon." At that moment, something strange happened. Alex felt a slight pain in his chest. It was a dull pain that was hard to pinpoint, and he soon noticed that it didn't actually hurt, but was more of a feeling as if they had an itch on their heart. The next moment it went away as if it had never been there, yet he instinctively knew what it was. "They're dead. Someone from the cursed family has just died," Alex softly spoke, in disbelief. He thought this was all due to him, due to what he had become. Hearing this and looking out the window, it didn't look like anyone from the castle area had died, which meant it was most likely from one of the other gates. Just then, popping his head through the flap of Sill's side pocket toolbox that was attached to his leg, was little Borden. "Alex, don't worry. You know I'm strong, right? If I'm here, I promise I'll protect you. It's what Quinn asked me to do," Borden said. Although Alex didn't know what a little human the size of a puppy was meant to do, he had heard the stories of how Borden had protected the little kids on the cursed ship when Pure had sent their people in. Seeing the one supposedly responsible didn't really give him much confidence, but he understood that the other meant well.
Okay, let's go.
Thanks. At that moment, a strange device that Logan had set up by the throne started to blink rapidly, making a beeping sound with it, and then it stopped. Then it did so again, soon stopping again. "This is bad, quite bad. Someone inside the castle, incredibly fast. Prepare yourself," Logan shouted, immediately recalling the spiders back to his body as he equipped the speed suit on himself. Knowing what was happening, Logan had set up senses in part of the hallway that one would have to pass if they were to reach the room they were in now. What was worrying him, though, was the short amount of time between each beep. At the speed they were traveling, it meant whoever it was would reach them in less than a minute. Popping out of the toolbox altogether, Borden was now on the red carpet, while Alex went to hide behind the throne. "Brother, you have no abilities here. It's not safe for you. You need to stay safe as well. We can't save the others if you die," Borden cautioned him. Assessing the situation, Logan could only assume it was bad. Paul had gone out, thinking the castle would be quite safe. Sill was no help at all, and Logan didn't really know what Alex could do. He himself wasn't the best fighter either, which meant the only person they could rely on was little Borden. If only Quinn had placed one of those statues here and here, but I guess he couldn't predict they would be after Alex, only that they might attack this place. Soon the doors to the throne room swung open violently, and a man could be seen standing there with his hands behind his back. He wore a smart white shirt with a long dangling trench coat that had seen better days. It was in tatters, and the one wearing it looked as if he had just been in a fight, but one of his most standout features was the use of his mustache that would twirl. "I can smell you, bloody fairy," Remus, the original 8th leader, called out. "This
I can't jump. I don't know why.
Just knowing there is one of your kind inside this damn
Thank
castle makes me want to tear it to shreds," he shouted out so loudly that the curtains at the very back of the room ruffled from just his voice. "Who the hell is that guy?" Alex whispered, hiding behind the large throne. Sill, who was by his side, could only shrug his shoulders. A few seconds later, though, they heard a loud, crashing bang. Alex couldn't resist the urge to carefully peek over the corner of the throne to see that the intruder that had just entered had been smashed and was currently stuck.
Yeah, bitch, stay still.
"See, I told you I was strong," Borden cheered, not looking like he did a few seconds before. He now had 2 spikes on his back, his arm and down certain areas of his face. Who allowed you inside our throne room, you old man? Gordon shouted. Getting out of the wall, pieces of it had crumbled to the floor. Remus twisted his apparently broken neck slightly. It cracked and twisted, fixing itself. So did the bones on the other parts of his body. That hurt far more than I expected. It seems that this era has its fair share of interesting people. Yet why do all of you insist on giving me so much trouble? Remus asked, clearly annoyed.
Let's fuck you, that's why.
The little one in front of him, and before he had time to react, Gordon was sent flying by a powerful kick. His instincts had made him to try to block the attack, yet his body had only been able to react when he was already in midair. However, the attack didn't stop there. Remus grabbed onto Gordon's head and dragged him across the red carpet before slamming him head first into the top half of the throne. Several cracks ran across the previously immaculate throne, and a mix of green and red blood now decorated it. A few seconds later, the top half of the throne fell off, revealing Alex with his legs clacking together. Looks like I
Nice.
found you, Blood Fairy. Still on the floor, Alex looked up at the man towering over him as his whole
This
body
game just
started
like
to shudder
fucking with me, I
uncontrollably.
swear.
The man wasn't large.
You got it?
He have a very scary
No.
look per se. But as Alex stared into the other's eyes, he could feel the sheer power inside the vampire, power that he could never hope to match. If you don't do anything, he's going to grab you. Move, Alex, move!
Go ahead.
Breathed internally.
I was looking for the gold.
I'm gonna take us back to Abion real quick, alright?
Like a frog
That's
staring
fine.
into the eyes of a snake.
Frog splash.
Already sealed. That's
Why'd
when
you
he
leave?
felt someone grab his hand
I
and
did it.
drag him from their spot. That one person wasn't affected by the man's presence. My grandfather is a lot scarier than him. Trust me, if he was here, we would all be dead already. Syl joked as he pulled his friend along. It's useless.
That nigga was running with him laughing and shit.
And we know how fast he is, Alex protested. But when he looked back, the strange vampire had stayed in place for some reason. Just like Borden handled him.
Are you ready?
How have you not realized what
Yeah, I'm
he is
cool.
yet?
Oh, I wanted you to be Eugen.
He saw that it wasn't the
Why?
vampire not wanting to move.
Because I'm gray.
Little Borden having his hands gripped around the vampire, and it was only then
Okay.
that Alex started to pay attention to his body features. Wait a second.
Manda?
A down key, he stuttered. That's because he is one genius. That's why he was so confident, Syl replied, not stopping their escape. Alex had been blissfully unaware that there had been a Dalkey on board the cursed ship the whole time. Yet for some reason, he couldn't say that one was out of place, given their ragtag team under Quinn. Nevertheless, right now he couldn't care less what Borden was. He just wanted him to win this fight. Taking this brief moment of nobody paying attention to him, Logan decided it would be best to try to contact the others, because there was one thing worrying him. Yes, Borden was strong, but there was a time limit to his prowess. This is Logan. Paul, I don't know what's happening right now with you, but you have to come to the castle right now. We have a visitor on the level of a leader. Logan tried to relay the message, but there was no response. This was because at this moment,
They're jammed.
Paul was being overwhelmed by the simultaneous influx of information coming from all voices on the battlefield. He couldn't filter out what Logan had just relayed. With blood dripping down his head, Borden had a smile on his face. Old man, have you ever fought against a Dalkey before? You know, the more you hurt me, the stronger I get, Borden shouted as he crushed the bones in Remus's hands. Lifting in the air was quite the sight for them to see, and soon he was slammed down to the floor. Getting up quickly, Remus was recovering at a rate that would even put a white like Peter to shame. Vampires had great healing abilities, provided they had blood nearby, but this strange vampire somehow managed without, albeit at a tempo he himself was unhappy with. This truly is an interesting era for so many people to be able to actually hurt me. What exactly are you? You smell like a human, but at the same time like a beast, Remus questioned, shaking his arm after a few seconds. Not answering or wasting time, Borden went in again. If one big hit won't finish you off, then I just need to hit you until you can't recover anymore. This time, Remus took
Eskimo.
a fighting stance with one hand in front of the other, and as the punches came, he would tap them away with
Oh,
his
everybody
fingers
is
from
bringing
side
that
to side.
question.
It was awkward due to Borden's small size, but still the original vampire could keep up with everything that was happening. The swings look wild, but I can tell he is well trained. It seems my bad habit is acting up again. I should stop wasting time with this one and go after the Blood Fairy. Leaning back away from Borden, Remus made a fist. Blood Cannon! Activating one of his strongest skills, his arm turned back and the recoil was strong. Swinging his arm up.
That was cool. I dived all them shits.
The ball was shot out from his arm as fast as a bullet.
I'm clipping that shit.
Dalkey back to the all the skin from his outer arm had peeled off, and his muscles could be
You
seen.
came for me, did you?
Once again, his arm was
Have
regenerating
fun.
at a visible speed. That skill, it looks like Quinn's blood bullet, but a stronger version, Logan noted. Using blood bullet once makes it
Go
so
out,
Quinn
so.
can't use his fingers for at least a day. But with his healing speed, it looks like he can use it as many times as he wishes. And soon, Logan would find out. Borden stood back up again, yet he was covered in far more blood than before. For such a little person, it looked like a horror scene, but there was a smile on his face as new energy was building up inside
Nope.
of him.
Don't you die on me,
"You are
damn it.
pretty resilient, aren't you?" Remus noted, now holding out his fingers like those of a gun. He fired, hitting Borden's legs, but he continued moving.
Oh, you still died.
Hitting his shoulder. He then attempted
Oh, you're in the
to hit his
ice.
head, but Borden was moving faster than before, and he was ready to deliver another punch. Charging forward, the bullets continued to fire, as Remus's fingers would heal with each shot. But now Borden was dodging them all, and this was when Logan could see that Borden had a third spike sticking halfway out of his back. Jumping up from under, Borden was suddenly above him. He grabbed both of his fists, ready to slam them down upon Remus's head. For some reason, Remus had a bad feeling that if this attack was to hit him, he might not recover that easily. Holding both his arms
Thank you, I
out
need
and
help.
having his hands
Thank
in
you.
fists, he shot out a double blood cannon, hitting Borden and throwing him slightly off target, allowing his fists to slam across the floor. A shockwave was sent out, instantly shaking the whole floor, and Logan and everyone else could feel it. Soon after, the floor started to cave in. From the single punch, the hard black material was crumbling. The whole floor had collapsed, and they were falling to the floor underneath them. While falling, Alex decided to take off his top and use his blood-red wings to grab both Syl and Logan so they wouldn't be hurt by the impact. Remus, on the other hand, had landed fine, but he was a bit stunned by what had just happened. He stood still and was looking at the ground. The little man was still standing, puffing and panting, but he didn't look like his former self anymore. It hasn't been 10 minutes yet. Is it because of the third spike? Logan wondered. What he was more concerned about now was Alex. He looked at him
Bitch.
still. "Alex, get out of here! Why are you still here?" Logan shouted, frustrated with everything that's happening. Quinn,
That was a lot of health.
this happened,
Damn,
now
damn.
more than ever.
They buffed his ass too.
That's the
Yep,
He had his own
yep.
weakness.
They buffed him too. That's cool.
In front of him made him realize how powerless he was, and that the one person who probably could have done something had wrongfully been detained. Seeing little Borden in pain like
Oh.
that, Alex gripped his fist and made his decision.
You got it?
No, I
No.
don't. Inside that big head of yours, you know it's pointless to run. He would catch up to me anyway. Besides, he's here for me in the first place. I should have just done this from the beginning, Alex said as he started to walk over towards Remus. "You idiotic fool!
Oh, the money's right here.
Now?"
You can start it.
Questioned, as he was ready to attempt to fight the strange vampires, but Syl was the one that stopped him. "Don't lose your life for no reason, Logan. We've already lost one of our own.